Hi, it's Liz Yuille from Old Stables Crafts. Thank you for joining me today for another Simple Stamping Saturday. And today I've got a real surprise for you. So keep watching until the end because the surprise doesn't come until we get to the stepped up versions. So, first things first, as I say, my name is Liz Yuille. I am an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator based in the UK, working across the UK, France, Germany, Austria and the Netherlands. If you need any Stampin' Up! Product, I would be thrilled if you would shop with me. I am hoping to earn the incentive trip this year. It's likely to be the only incentive trip my husband will ever go on because he won't fly. But this year, the incentive trip starts from the UK. And goes to Norway, including Bergen, where I have only been to pick up my father, who was taken ill on a cruise a few years ago and ended up in Bergen Hospital. And I ended up being there for not the 2 days I thought I was going to be there for, but the best part of 2 weeks. So it would be really nice to go back to Norway with my husband and visit as a tourist. But I've got a little way to go, so anything you can do to help would be amazing. However, that's not why you're here. You're here to see Simple Stamping Saturday. So let's flip the camera down and have a look at what we're making. And we've got a nice blank space, but what we're making is this card. And let me grab the envelope, and this envelope to match, just with a little bit of Billy Don't at the top there. So we're using from the current mini catalogue, the Apple Harvest stamp set, which has got a full apple, it's got a whole branch of apples, and then this, which is half an apple and a branch with another apple on it. So that's the one we're using today. The sentiments are: the greatest gift is a good friend, which is what I'll use today. Hope you're feeling better, and thanks for your kindness. So let's get started with a white note card and envelope, my stamp, and some tuxedo black. Now, I'm going to be using watercolour pencils, and I'm afraid I'm going to be using both sets. Sorry. Sometimes it just has to be done. However, if you get them before the end of October, they will help you earn a free celebration item, because for every £45 or €60 you spend in my online store, beautiful, you get to choose a celebration item. You've got until the 31st of August to get those sorted out. And the watercolour pencils, I think, are overlooked. This sentiment only just fits on a note card, certainly if you're doing it in portrait mode, which I am. Beautiful. Look at that stamping, it's just so crisp and wonderful. I am going to stamp on the envelope as well. Now, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. I didn't mean to stamp this at the top left. I meant to stamp it at the bottom right. So this time, I'm going to open my flap so I know where the top is. Sometimes you can't make it up. And it's in the bottom right. Isn't that amazing? It's so amazing what happens when you actually stamp where you intended to. So, I am using from each of the sets, Real Red, Old Olive and Early Espresso. This is from the first watercolours pencil set. That's the one that has black and white in it. And then from the second assortment, I've got Flirty Flamingo, Early Espresso and Granny Apple Green. It kind of has to be done. Now, my apples are actually red. So I'm going to use the Granny Apple Green just very lightly on the inside of this cut apple, because I just want a hint of colour. As a general rule, I have found, and this is only from my own experience, we have apple trees in our garden. And homegrown apples tend to have a slightly yellower flesh, I found, than the ones you get in the shops. Whether it's because they actually ripen properly, I don't know. I'm using Early Espresso for the pips, because that's how you tell if an apple is ripe. If the pips are a nice dark brown, the apple is ripe. If they're still pale, it's not. So yeah, I don't know whether it's the variety that's used in shops that have a longer lifespan or shelf life. I don't know what it is, but the flesh on our apples is very much more yellow. The apples are delicious, I would hasten to add. Flirty Flamingo, I just want a little bit on the blossom. Apple blossom tends to be basically white with just a hint of pink. So I don't want to go mad. I'd rather, this is where less is more. I'm going to put a bit in the middle as well. Then I'm going to use Cajun Craze for the shadows on my apple. Cajun Craze works really well as if you want a green apple, so something like a Cox or a Rayburn. Those are varieties that are around in UK supermarkets, but are basically a green apple with a bit of red on. Then this is a really good red, and I know it's not red, I know it's more of a terracotta, but it works perfectly to make a green apple a bit red. I'm going to use it as well just sort of in the middle of the where the stalk goes on my cut apple, and just a little bit just on the edge there. I'm going to put a bit more into the dip where my stalk goes. Now I'm going to add some early espresso, again where the stalk goes and round to the edge there, and also right into the middle of my apple, my cut apple, and then obviously the stalk. Now if you want to get more colour on, you want a sharper point, and by sharp point I mean, for example, this has got a very sharp point. Let's use white. Can you see that there's a sharper point there, but there's a flat edge at the tip? So that would be a sharp point with a flat tip. This is basically just sharp. If you've got a sharp point, you're going to get more pigment, because you've got the same amount of pressure going onto a smaller area. It's physics, you know. I didn't do very well in physics at school. My maternal grandfather would probably turn in his grave. I was so bad at science. He was a chemistry professor. It skipped my bit of the generation anyway. My niece, she did a master's degree in biological sciences, so she can kind of do science. I can't. Right, real red, and then we've got to do our leaves, and then we can start blending with a blender pen. Now I'm not going to add too much red. I want some, but not lots, and I don't want to add it scribbled. I want to add it in a kind of swirl, because then you get a better result. You get a more even amount of pigment, she says, then catching a corner. You can layer your pigment up, but once it's down, it's kind of down, so you don't want a very sharp sudden across the middle of your apple, because it's going to be very difficult to blend out. And you can take the pigment up to an edge with the blender pen. Whew. I did all right until we got the blending brushes. I love the blending brushes, but I get them confused with the blender pen. Is it a blending pen or a blender pen? Now both of them happen to come in packs of 3, so they're really good value. And the blender pen lasts for a very long time, particularly if you don't leave it anywhere too hot. Right, Old Olive on the veining and a bit of shading, and just around the edge there to give a bit more definition. Sorry, that was my husband just coming in asking me a question while I'm mid-filming. A little bit more red there. I don't normally talk to him like that, by the way. It's just, this is the third time I've tried to film this. And I've had 2 phone calls in the middle. And I really need to get this done because I leave for New Orleans tomorrow, my time. And I've got lots to do. And dare I say, normally he assumes that I'm filming unless I turn around and tell him I'm not. But bless him. Right, okay, so blender pen. I always scribble to make sure that it's running clear. And I'm going to start with my Flirty Flamingo. Now, word of warning. Memento needs to be really, really dry before it's blender pen safe. By really, really dry, I would say leave it overnight. Otherwise, you can end up with the blender pen moving your memento. So I'm going to be quite careful about not going over the lines. So I've cleaned my pen off again, and I'm just going to come in and... So where I am going over the lines, I'm making sure I'm going in a straight line and not scribbling. That is a good thing to do anyway, because you don't want to pill your card. And if you go in one place over and over and over, you will break down the fibres, and you'll end up with fuzzy card, basically. Right, so while I've still got green, let's do the leaves. Just blend that into the early espresso a bit. And now I'm going to do the red, or the apple I suppose I should say. Now I've just managed to lift most of that off, so to get more red, just pick it up from your pencil, and often it's better to dabble rather than do long strokes, particularly if you want a bit of texture. Mustn't forget that bit, which I always forget. And then move into the white area, so you're pushing the pigment as you go. Now you don't have to blend it out if you don't want to. You can just leave it as pencil, coloured pencil, nothing wrong with that. Ooh, rain! Hopefully that will be good rain, because as of the 24th in our area we can't use hose pipes. So let's hope there's some decent rain, fill up the water butts, and get the trees nicely watered. We've got new trees outside on the lane that we live in. So into the early espresso, And for the first 2 years you have to keep trees reasonably well watered, otherwise they fail. And we've done quite well so far through the drought, but that's with using a hose. And there are about 24 of them, and each of them need about 2 buckets of water per watering. That's a lot of buckets of water to carry from the nearest tap. Just saying. Right, okay. That is my colouring done. So I'm going to fold my card over, give it a good press, and there you are. That is my apple. Now this is Granny Apple Green and this is Granny Apple Green, so you can see just by using less pigment you can get a very different look. So that's my simple stamping version. My next version is this one, and again I've used watercolour pencils for this. I've stamped with Sahara sand in the background using that trellis, and I used Sahara sand for the stamping of the apple. Then I've used Tuxedo Black again for my sentiment, which is sitting on Sweet Sorbet Baker's Twine, and this is actually Sweet Sorbet card on top of the black card. So all of this is shimmer white, and the reason I use it is because this is shimmer white. If you put white on shimmer white, it's not attractive. If you must use either white or vanilla, vanilla is better. It's still not great, but it's better. But please don't put white onto shimmer white or vice versa. So this was just an offcut. The twine is fine because it's not a flat white. And then I've used some of the matte dots from the annual catalogue. They come in a selection with black, grey, vanilla and white, and I've used the vanilla just as a subtle little finish. And then my stepped up version, which is where the surprise comes, is this, because this is using blends. The colours are a bit different. I will list those in the description below and also over on my website. If you go to the description bar and click on the link to the associated blog post, you'll see the list of blends that I've used, but it is below as well. So this is basically the same, except I've stamped in Tuxedo Black, but I have used, and this is going to be available from the 1st of September, one of the new time-limited Perfect Partners, and it's the Apple Blossom dies for September only, or if you're putting them in a starter kit from now, you can put the Perfect Partner dies into your starter kit. As I say, this is the Apple Blossom. What's even better is that if you don't have the stamp set, you can bundle the Apple Blossom dies with the Apple Harvest and save 10%. And we're having dies just for September for Fresh Cut Flowers, This Birthday Piggy, Trimming the Tree, Waterfall Canyon and Yeti to Party. So there's dies for all of those. You can bundle them if you don't already have the stamp set, but you only have until the end of September, including what's left of August if you're putting them in a starter kit, or from the 1st of September until the end of the month, or while stocks last. So this is a huge set of dies. We've got a die for each of the individual images. In fact, we've got lots of dies for the flower. Then we've got leaves that are embossed and cut. We've got flowers that are embossed and cut. We've got the sentiment strip, which I'll show you properly in a minute. And we've got this scallop, which actually cuts a really fine scallop. So it's not an edge, it's an actual scallop. I would use adhesive sheet on the back of whatever you're die cutting, personally, because that's very fine, so it would be quite fiddly to glue. There's a branch, so you can build a tree of apples. or just with blossom. I mean, the sky's the limit with this one. So I used the die, so I've used blends, I've used the die, and this is that sentiment strip, which I've then added some of the baker's twine to the holes at the edge, and then put a little bow here. So for this one, I just looped the twine round and tied it at a bow, and this they're actually short edges, just short pieces on this one, and then just tied just the bow bit. And again, I've got the matte dots as well. So there you go. Simple or quick, depending on how you look at it. Stepped up and further stepped up using those amazing Perfect Partners dies. I'm really excited by them. I have all of them because as a demonstrator I could order them a month in advance, and I have. So thank you very much indeed for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Let me flip the camera back up. I hope you've enjoyed it. Simple Stamping Saturday is always fun. I love it. If you've enjoyed it, do give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you don't already. And if you need any Stampin' Up products or want to join and you're in one of the European countries of UK, France, Germany, Austria or the Netherlands, I would be thrilled if you would shop for me or join my team. All the links are below and over on my website. The link to this post is the associated blog post. Just click that link and you'll come straight to the post on my website with close-up photos and a bit more information, and also a link back to this video. But hey, in the meantime, have a fantastic rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon. Bye for now.